Welcome to Living in Chicago, the show where I interview real Chicagoans about the neighborhoods that they live, work, and play in. I'll be your host. My name is Jake Lyons, and in this episode, I interview Cory Lara, who is a up-and-coming stand-up comedian who lives in the Humboldt Park neighborhood of Chicago. We have some fun conversations about the state of comedy in Chicago from the perspective of all kinds of different forms of comedy, the robust uh, history that Chicago has with all forms of comedy, especially sketch comedy, improv comedy, but also very much stand up comedy, as you will learn. And we learn about what Cory's experience is so far of living in the Humboldt Park neighborhood and some other places that he's lived in and spends time in just by virtue of living his life in the city of Chicago. Humboldt Park is the neighborhood that we spend time talking about the most. And if you don't know exactly where Humboldt Park is, if you're picturing a map of Chicago or if you're following me on YouTube, picture downtown Chicago, go west a couple miles, go north about a mile and a half or so from there, and you're pretty much in Humboldt Park. It borders the 606 walking trail to the north, which is a fairly recent development. It's in some old train tracks that were developed into some walking and biking trails, which is a pretty new, fun, big deal. That's just a little bit north of North Avenue, and then goes all the way south to Kinsey, and then from the east west, it goes almost about as far east as Western Avenue, and almost as far west as Cicero. So it's a pretty big area, big enough that a lot of people will actually break it down and refer to it as between West Humboldt Park and East Humboldt Park. We don't really do that in this episode, but just for sake of argument, picture more East Humboldt Park. That's more where Cory is, by my understanding. But it's definitely a big enough area that somebody could be living in one section of that neighborhood and be having a very different experience than somebody in another one. But although I guess that's half the fun of this show, is because somebody could be living right next door to you and be having a very different experience of the neighborhood and your street and everything, because different people have different filters and see things differently. So that's what this show's about, is hearing from all kinds of different people about what the experiences that they're having. Humboldt Park, a couple just, quick little facts about Humboldt Park. It is named after Alexander von Humboldt, who is known as the father of environmentalism, which is a pretty big thing to be known for. By most accounts, that doesn't seem like he ever was actually in Chicago, but when you're the father of environmentalism, I guess you get to have places named after you that you've never been to before. So good on him. Within the actual park, there was a situation a couple of years ago where an alligator was found in one of the bodies of water located throughout that park, and it was endearingly nicknamed Chance the Snapper, in reference to local famous musician Chance the Rapper. And it is also the site of the Riot Fest, which is an annual big music festival, mostly a rock music festival. If you are looking to buy a place in Humboldt Park right now, a two bed, just for kind of just random points of reference here, right now a two-bed condo in Humboldt Park, not differentiating between East Humboldt Park or West Humboldt Park or anything else, just the whole neighborhood, is running about a median of $220,000. And if you are looking for a house, for three or more bedroom house, the median price for that right now is $285,000. And if you're looking to rent a two-bed, one-bath apartment, the median on that right now is coming in at around $1,490. That's according to a service that I use called Rentometer, and the other one, the sales prices were provided by InfoSparks, which I'm a real estate agent. I have that through some MLS systems that I have. Not that that matters, but I should probably cite where I'm getting this information from. As far as what is it actually like to live in Humboldt Park, that is where Cory comes in. So I will defer to him and get right to the interview. All right. As mentioned, I am here joined today by Cory Lara. Cory, how's it going?
It's going good. Where the real estate at?
Yep. Cory's joining us live here from, well, it's not going to be live by the time we're listening to this, obviously, but live for me, from the Humboldt Park neighborhood. By the time we get to this part, I will have gone through kind of like a little, like, here's Humboldt Park, here's what that is, and some stats
Yeah.
about that and things like that. But
Humboldt Park was
uh,
where the typewriter was invented in 1901. No, it's not.
is that true? Or
No,
are you
it's not.
just
It's
saying
not
so?
at all true.
Okay.
Yeah.
How confident are you that that's not true? What if that actually is true and it
I'm
is?
pretty certain it's not true because there would be a typewriter statue somewhere around here. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's like what it would be like in the middle of actual Humboldt
oh,
Park.
it was invented in Milwaukee. So I'm not far off, but it was a
Yeah.
Midwest
Midwest.
invention, 1860 September 1867.
That's
So
cool.
that's pretty
Little, yeah.
close. Yeah,
Yeah. Midwest American ingenuity at its finest
yeah.
right there.
And
Right
then
on.
and then
Have
and
you
then
ever,
Edison stole it in 1870 probably.
that sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
Right up his alley. Have you ever typed on like a really old school typewriter, like that has like
Yeah, the
the
ding
like
and
hammer
yeah.
with like the
Yeah.
ribbon and all that?
My mom used to have one back when I was little. And then I think we used to sometimes go to the library to use one when I was a kid, but it's been forever since I've even, seen a typewriter that I could actually even, touch, let alone actually write on.
Yeah. Yeah, same. My grandparents had one, so growing up, I would play on that a little bit, and like it was actually the whole process of it was actually kind of fun. Like it was like a workout for your fingers. I mean, you had to
Yeah,
really like you had to
yeah, they
type
were.
like you mean it,
Yeah, you had to
you know,
you had to really work on your index finger strength.
for sure. Yeah. Cory, tell us a little bit about you. What's your day job, and what's that paying the bills for you to really do the things that you actually want to do?
Yeah, so by day I work for a drywall company. I'm a pricing associate. So really all it is I work with the salespeople and I do the glorified data entry work for them of getting all the info in the system the uh the updated for whatever the customer agreements are. I studied accounting, so it's like in that wheelhouse. So I do that by day, and then by night I do stand-up comedy all throughout Chicago. And then and then other forms of comedy too. I kind of collaborate with here and there. Sketch comedy. Used to do improv a lot. Done some writing, some podcasting before, so all of that stuff. So yeah, so accountant by day, comedian by night. It's kind of like if a doctor was a hitman on the side, like completely opposite skill set, but it gets the full life balance involved. So who are you to judge?
Yeah, working both sides of the brain,
Yeah,
the
both sides
full
of the
gamut
law.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And you're from Chicago area at large, right? But not Chicago City.
I grew up in the south suburbs, like Orland Park, Palos Hills, Palos Heights, all the parks and tree names. Moved to the
Lots of
city.
those.
Yeah, moved to the city proper like 5 or 6 years ago. Lived in West Town with my brother for a few years before moving here to Humboldt.
Gotcha. What drew you to Humboldt?
Just the listing of the apartment that showed up. It was a good deal. Decent, decent size for the rent. All the utilities were included. The street I'm on has a lot of good free street parking, and it was kind of a good central location for just anywhere in the city is easy for me to get to since I have a car. But it really just again just the location that just popped up just happened to be this unit just happened to be a really good find for especially compared to all the other stuff I was finding at the time. It was like August-ish of 2020, so still
Mm,
mid-pandemic,
hmm.
and just finding a lot of like either crap apartments or ones that were the nice ones were too popular. This one I got right as it like went up, and I just kind of like was like, yeah, this is good and good for me. So I just kind of sat on it and jumped the gun on
Yeah,
it, and yeah.
man. August 2020, what a time. That was yeah. So usually by August or September, like that area in a normal year, that's usually like the slowest among the slowest times of year. Like
Yeah,
July through early September rivals, like December and January for like usually like the slowest times of year. But that year was very different because obviously like nobody was really doing much between March and basically then,
yeah,
August. So you had all this pent up demand. And then once kind of
yeah,
people started to get a little bit more comfortable venturing out of their houses and stuff like that.
yeah,
So basically, like the August market was kind of like the March and April and May market all
yeah.
combined. It was just
Yeah,
a feeding
the
frenzy. So,
the squeezing of the bellows, and it finally got to release at that point. Because yeah, it was fairly hopping around that time from what I saw. But I've looked around that time just in case I wanted to look at other stuff when my lease was going to be up the past few years. I would look around that time, and yeah, it's been a little slower since then, but even still not bad, but nowhere near as good as it was around that time for sure.
hmm what? How much did you know about Humboldt Park, the area, before moving in there?
I didn't know the specifics of Humboldt that well. I mean, I knew because it's near all it's like adjacent to all the neighborhoods I was really familiar with. It was like right next to Ukrainian Village, Logan Square, Wicker Park, kind of. So I knew all those areas pretty well, and I knew it was, and this unit was like right on the border of those neighborhoods. So I knew at least it would be really close to stuff I was familiar with. But the particular yeah, the layout, even the sort of the border lines, I had no idea. I didn't even think I really knew the name of the neighborhood until yeah, I did, although I did know I was familiar with the park because I had been to the park a couple times. But other than that, didn't know as far as it being a neighborhood, I didn't know all that well before yeah, really living here and getting to know the neighborhood.
Hmm. And what would you say about the neighborhood now that you've been there? You've been there, so yeah, a little
Yeah.
over three. Is
Yeah,
it 3 years or 4 years? Like the
three
calendar
three
math is hard. I guess
yeah,
it's
three in like 3 months or so.
okay.
3 or 4
Yeah.
months. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it's great. I mean, yeah, I mean it's certainly especially again now with like as Logan and Wicker and all those places kind of start developing and expanding and all that kind of stuff. We're starting to get it's gotten the residual effects of that over here, which is nice. A lot of newer restaurants and stores and all that good stuff. The houses around here are pretty nice and pretty decent. It's a good mix of like older houses kept, maintained and stuff, and then newer, more modern looking, buildings kind of popping up. So it's got a good balance of that, especially maintaining the history and that sort of thing. And yeah, I see a lot of, at least the part of it I'm in, I see a lot of, families. Still a very strong. It's historically been a pretty big Puerto Rican neighborhood and Mexican to some extent, and there's that part of the culture is still very prevalent, especially in
Mm-hmm.
June for Puerto Rican Heritage Month.
And
So
but they go so hard. It's just
oh,
Puerto
they
Rican
go hard.
flags all over
Yeah,
the fireworks,
yeah.
horns. I mean, it's an extravaganza,
Yeah,
man. Like,
my
yeah,
first June of here living here that was when In the Heights the movie came out, and
no
uh
way.
and and
Wow.
I would go to the park and be like, man, it's like a VR In the Heights experience all around me. But it's been really cool to see it, and again, it continues to thrive and all that. And I've other than like the one Saturday where it gets pretty like loud and crazy. As long as I look out for that month or that day every year that happens, it's otherwise pretty good. People are pretty, you know, like respectful and all that kind of stuff.
hmm But that during that time, not a lot of respectfulness going on.
Oh no, there was even
Yeah,
then.
right.
I just
Yeah, I know
wasn't
what you're
used
saying.
to it.
Uh,
I lived in West Town where it was pretty quiet, so I wasn't quite used to that kind of stuff. But now I am, and it's yeah.
mhm.
Even back then, it wasn't that big a deal. It just again just a surprise I didn't know. So, but now I've
What? Yeah. What part of West Town were you in? That's a pretty big area.
I was off of like Ashland and Grand, so like just
Okay.
just towards the, like at the end of like a little bit north of Union Park, and like at the like once all the like the warehouses and stuff like that kind of stops.
Hmm.
I was like right there, and that was great. I mean, again, that was pretty central location, easy to get to, a lot of parking, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like living there. And
Yeah.
I tried to look for stuff around there when I was moving, but didn't yeah, not the stuff units there just didn't pan out, or people beat me to the punch. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, right there, I guess that is like legit West Town, because West Town is one of those things where like there's like a whole umbrella like community area of West Town, which technically like Wicker Park and
right.
Ukrainian Village and all those are under, but and then there's
Yeah.
West Town, which is there's like a West Town neighborhood and then the West Town area, but yeah, you were definitely in just like the straight up
Yeah.
West Town,
Yeah,
West Town, yeah.
it was my brother's place. He had it for a few years. He actually got it. He bought it like, a little bit before it sort of started really booming, so his value went up as he got it,
Mm,
in tandem with like Fulton Market and all that stuff kind of getting developed over there. So he
mm,
definitely benefited from buying that at the best time of because historically, yeah, that area was just a lot of empty, warehouses and meat packing places that hadn't been used in decades, and now
hmm.
that's all the prime areas right now of growth, and people
Yep.
taking up shop there and all that.
Yep. It's a lot of cool things going on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of like cool like uh converted industrial lofts into interesting like
yeah,
artist spaces and things like that,
yeah,
with my wife Emma, I know all about that, but there's also all kinds of breweries and
yeah,
kind of things like that popping up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
There's like a little movement to go ahead.
Yeah, I was just east of all that little, yeah, the hot spot of breweries there in West Town. Shout out to District Brew Yards. They're really great. I used
Yo,
to go
yo.
there all the time. They have there's Casa Humilde, the only Mexican-owned brewery in the city, and they do really good stuff there.
Is that true? The only one?
As far as I know, they're certainly the first. I forget
Okay.
if I'm remembering that correctly. I know they were the first. I'm pretty sure they're the only one. They're certainly the one with the most sort of like Mexican flair to them, because they, all the names, they were on they NBC reported on them last year, and all the beer names are always in Spanish. And
Mm.
and then the reporter was like, "Are you afraid people won't be able to pronounce their names?" And I go like, "Well, it's not that hard. Like just put in a little effort, and you'll be able to figure it out." Like, I thought that was
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, they do really good stuff there. I really like those guys a lot.
Is there can art and stuff like that also kind of like culturally, like to the like Mexican
Yeah,
culture, you know what I mean?
they do a little bit. Yeah, that's not full, Frida Kahlo level of
Right.
like authenticity, but I mean it's good and cute little stuff. Like they have like this one orange beer, like something naranja, and it's got little, oranges and stuff on it, and little cartoon oranges and stuff, that sort of
Mm,
thing. Um, but they partnered up with this year's the 50th anniversary of Los Camales, the historic Mexican restaurant in Little Village, and they partnered with them to do a collab beer, and they made a special 50th anniversary version of one of their beers for it, and it had really good art on that one. So now they are kind of doing better now about collaborating with artists and other like
mm.
Mexican brands around the city and that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I know you're very much a man about town, but I mean, do you how much would you say that you kind of partake in Humboldt Park things? You
Yeah, I
spend a lot
mean,
of time there?
certainly the thing I've spent the most time is because I love running, and I'm like right in between the Humboldt, the park itself, and the 606 running trail. So that's probably the stuff I've made the most use out of, particularly to the neighborhood. Especially during the pandemic, I was running almost every day in the Humboldt Park itself. Did that for like a couple, like 2 years straight, and then this year I kind of really got more into running on the 606, because it's like right down the street from my place. And I
Yeah.
really like that a lot. And they always have, I mean, in Humboldt Park they always have, especially in the summer, random bands playing and music fests and street festivals and stuff like that. Really good Colombian festival, and usually in like August-ish.
Mm,
606 is just, pretty picturesque, a lot of good, like art you can see all throughout the city, and murals and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
As far as the other particulars, I mean, like again, Puerto Rican stuff pretty prevalent. So there's like Puerto Rican museums and stuff, and cultural stuff, art exhibits. Food's great. My favorite Puerto Rican place is I'm not too far south from was it Jibarito Y Mas. So Jibaritos are the iconic. It's like
Hmm.
it's a sandwich, but it's like
The like
it's a
plantain.
and yeah, it's fried plantains are the buns basically for the sandwich, and it's
Yeah.
really that place is probably one of the most popular Puerto Rican spots in the city, and it's always got a line. It's just south of where Lori Lightfoot's apartment is. So it would be hard to find parking because of all the barricades they kept up there the past few
Right.
years. But it was
All
worth it.
the
It
like
was worth
Secret
going every time.
Service,
Yeah,
whatever the mayor version of
yeah,
Secret Service
yeah,
is.
her Gestapo.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's that. Obviously I do a lot of comedy stuff. Uh, there's not really any there's not any major venues like that I've been to here in this neighborhood proper, but a lot of those are pretty close by. I'm trying to think of what else. Um, I don't know, just a lot of good, again, a lot of other good businesses. One of my favorite sushi places right down the street from me, Zoku Sushi. They're really good. They've had a lot of good like community sort of things here. There's down the street, like right around the block from me is a um they've done kind of like, it's sort of like a almost like a flea market, but it's like kind of like a mix between like a mutual aid thing and a community sort of meetup kind of thing, where every so often they'll like have like just random artists and vendors will set up shop there, and sometimes they'll even do like a barter system kind of thing, trade your stuff
Hmm.
for other stuff. There's a couple other random things like that. So it's getting more very like community minded and collaborative, and just people kind of like working together on stuff. I know there's a lot of good like activist work kind of centered around here. Our representative we just elected last year, Jesse Fuentes. It's really good. I believe they're the first queer Latina representative, I think, in Congress, I believe, something like that.
Hmm.
So a lot of good stuff like that has been kind of centered around here lately.
Okay. Are there like farmers market types of things that you know or anything like that?
I think
Or
I've seen some like by the park. Like there's still like kind of uh like inlets like in between the streets that I've noticed it. I haven't been to them, but I have seen that there's some that they sort of set up shop there throughout the summers, though they're obviously nowhere near as hopping as like say like the Logan farmers market or whatever, but they look like they're still good. Just it's a little, for me it's just a little like having to like park there and then walk all the way over, and again it's all like in the middle of the street, so it's the fields in between the two major lanes or whatever, but yeah, they do have it, which is kind of nice. I'm sure there's people around here that really go for that sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, you mentioned that you pretty much drive everywhere. Do you think it's a neighborhood that you would have to drive, or what would be like the public transit
Yeah, I mean,
situation over there?
yeah, I mean the closest is the blue line, and it's not. It's a far walk. I mean, it's easier if you have like a bike or an e-scooter or something. But yeah, I like there's plenty of bus lines that go all around here. I've got where I'm at off of North and Kimball. There's buses going in both north, south, and east, west direction. So for me, it's not bad if I like this. I finally went to the salt shed a month ago, and
Hmm.
just took the North Avenue bus straight there, and that was great. But
Hmm.
yeah, if you're dependent on like trying to commute to the loop for work or something, yeah, probably not ideal. But there's ways to do it, take a bus and transfer over if you have to, but not the closest for if you're really looking for the L or something other than a bus. But again, yeah, I've got a car, so it's worked for me, and then the few times I have had to take the bus for stuff, it's been pretty great. But I kind of banking when I moved on here that I wouldn't have to go to the office, and so far I'm still working fully remote, so it's not been an issue for me. But yeah, for other people, it might be something they'd want to, take note of before they would, really explore around
Hmm.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Humboldt Park is, I guess, it's between North and Division, right? Those are kind of like the north-south boundaries. I'll look into
I
this
think
more. And
something like that. Yeah,
yeah, so both of those are very well, very significant streets that are going to get lots of bus,
yeah,
traffic and things
yeah.
like that. But yeah, what did you think of the salt shed?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, really nice venue. They renovated it really now. You probably wouldn't be able to have told from the inside that it was ever a salt warehouse. It's a cool setup. They have an outdoor area where they'll have food trucks before the shows, and like a bar to hang out at by the river. Um, they have I think they have like a sort of like guitar shop there inside that's like really nice, almost like a mini guitar center. They do like they have exclusive beers, like Goose Island has an exclusive
Hmm.
salty beer that they sell there. That's pretty good.
Oh, I didn't see
Uh,
that.
yeah. I saw Run the Jewels there 2 nights in a row there, and then Eric Andre there 2 weeks after. So yeah, and it was and they all had the pit open and stuff, so I was able to get there, you know, not too late before like start time and get a pretty good spot in the pit. So it's pretty good. I'd say the only issue right now is that it's like kind of a mid-sized venue. So right now they're getting either really big names that sell out quick or lesser known names that, people might not have heard of, but you'll at least, not have trouble with the show selling out or whatever. But even still, like they get a good crowd there going, and yeah, pretty good spot so far. So it'll definitely
Yeah.
be a top venue for as it starts to gain more traction and popularity.
Yeah, I think that's already happening. And for the listeners slash watchers, so the Salt Shed it's a renovate been renovated into a concert venue now, but it was for I don't know decades, this 100 years, I don't even know, a long
Yeah,
time. Was one of I guess I don't know if it was like the headquarters or just one of the main factories for Morton Salt.
yeah,
So you would know Morton Salt. I mean, they're kind of synonymous with salt, but
yeah.
like they're the ones that have the logo with
Umbrella
the
Girl.
woman in the umbrella, like the
Yeah,
yellow, and
yeah,
so there was like this iconic salt factory as you're going up the highway up the north side of Chicago. You could just look off to your right and you can see like the whole roof is painted with the logo. And I think when they announced that they were going to be not in that spot anymore, for whatever reason, I think a lot of people were very saddened, like, oh no, what's going to happen to that? Are we going to,
yeah,
lose our big Morton Salt mural roof
yeah,
thing? But thankfully, they kept it there.
yeah. They
Must
were
have struck
smart, and
some kind of deal with it.
and they've just kept the sort of the brand integrations kind of running. Like again, they have like salt themed beers there that are exclusive, and I think they even sell some merch makes use of the Morton logo or whatever. So it's yeah, they were smart to handle it the way that they did. I mean, it would be like buying the Sears Tower and changing that name. Boy, that would be a mistake if someone ever tried to do that.
Yeah, yeah. People don't really
Yeah.
react to change right off the
I
bat
I
very
I don't
well,
I
do
don't
they?
care I don't care what Elon Musk, if he wants to call it X, I will always call it the Sears Twitter. That's what I'm calling it.
There you go. Sears Twitter, nice.
Thank you.
See, that's why you're a comedian. Things like
Yep.
that, right there,
Yeah.
which we'll definitely get more into. Let's see. What has there been anything about Humboldt Park that has surprised you about it, or like maybe like, or you said you didn't know a ton about it going in there, but
Yeah.
maybe some misconceptions that since you moved in, you've realized that it does have that
Yeah.
maybe you want to right the ship on, or
Yeah.
not, or play
Yeah,
into.
I mean, it certainly has had, in its history, a sort of reputation for being a, you know, a potential like crime area. These days, that's kind of everywhere in the city to some extent. And it is, and certainly the area I'm at has, much way less of that. If you go way more west to like the other end of the Humboldt border, basically, yeah, it starts to, have older, rundown parts of the neighborhood that aren't as well maintained or monitored, and stuff like that kind of happens. And I have heard stuff on the news, but plenty. But at least my experience having been here so far has been pretty good. I haven't had any issues. Um, uh, you know, all the people here, again, like on my street, it's a lot of families. There's a daycare across the street from me. Plenty of schools and community things for people with families and that sort of stuff. Generally, people seem pretty friendly. I know I've had good just random interactions with, just people on the street and that sort of stuff. I've, made good friends with my neighbors. They're all pretty cool. Um, Again, all the Puerto Rican stuff, at first I didn't quite know to the extent that it was that prevalent. And it's been cool to see that, more and engage with that. Um, yeah, and then just other than that, I mean, yeah, it's just, I mean, just yeah, there's a lot of nicer stuff here, that I think people would just be surprised if they only heard about Humboldt Park from the news or from their parents that lived here 50 years ago, and will then come to the neighborhood and see how much it's changed. That was my parents' experience, being
Mm,
here, and and then when back when I lived in West Town even, and all that sort of stuff.
yeah. Were they horrified when you told them that you were moving to Humboldt Park?
I don't know. They were horrified. I didn't even. I kind of kept coy about what the specifics, from my mom. My dad I told, but and he was maybe a little concerned, but once we all started to be on the street that I'm on, like they saw pretty quick that that I was
Yeah.
going to be fine and all that.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
it helps that now I look more like Danny Trejo, than I did at the time, so that kind of has a good, air about me of, if I just stay quiet, people don't tend to mess with me, so that's good.
more.
Yeah, whip out my machete.
Oh, Danny Trejo. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking
Yep.
about now.
Yep.
Yeah. The turtle guy from Breaking Bad.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
That's how
Tortuga.
I know him.
Yep.
I've never actually seen Machete.
Machete is so good. It's like yeah, exploitation movie, but done like Robert Rodriguez style. It's really good.
Nice. So if somebody were to visit Humboldt Park for just one day, what would you say are the things that they need to do?
Yeah, I would say, come, especially if it's during the summer or something, come to the park. Walk around there. They got like the swan boats and on the pond and stuff. It was once home to Chance the Snapper, the infamous alligator.
That's
Um,
right.
so yeah, go there. They're right by the park is the Puerto Rican like Heritage Museum. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, try to go to a Puerto Rican restaurant if you can. There's a lot of other ones closer to the park. The Jibarito Y Mas is a little bit further away, but that one is really good. Um, and then yeah, I don't know, if there's some breweries, not a lot. I'm right down the street from Orkanoy. They're pretty cool. So if breweries, that's your kind of thing. There's one there. There's some cool dive bars and smaller venues like that. Um, yeah, run the 606 if you can. That's pretty nice. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, just depends on whatever the sort of stuff you look out for when exploring a neighborhood. Usually food and culture and stuff. That's kind of there's plenty
Hmm.
of that. There's not really any big, you know, uh, uh, you know, theaters or venues or anything like that. It's a very, still a more like domestic-ish kind of neighborhood. But yeah, there's plenty of that stuff. Yeah, especially during the summer. The winter maybe not as lively as other neighborhoods can get, but yeah, so far it's been pretty good for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and earlier you mentioned things like the murals and sort of
Yeah.
the art scene around there. I know that that's definitely one of like one of the neighborhoods that's always on the top of everyone's mind when talking about murals specifically. You know,
Yeah,
kind of like the street art kind of thing. Is there's a
yeah,
lot of really good stuff
yeah.
going on there.
A lot of that. If you go down like Division Street around here, that's where a lot of the Puerto Rican stuff is, sort of located centrally. So yeah, all the good restaurants are there, and plenty of good mural art there that you'll see. So yeah, if you want to see more of that, that would be a good
Hmm.
sort of stroll to take.
Hmm. So what got you into comedy?
I kind of, growing up, I was always kind of, drawn to anything funny, anything humorous. I grew up on '90s Nickelodeon and Weird Al Yankovic, and like all the, like Pixar movies and stuff. So I was always just kind of drawn to funny stuff naturally. I don't really know where the drive for me to want to do it myself came from. I think it was just more of a part of it is probably a coping strategy for sure of being the youngest and with two way older brothers and strong-willed parents. It was probably my way of coping with all that stuff. um but I don't know, I just always liked making people laugh and doing funny voices and bits and that sort of stuff. So and yeah, I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway growing up.
Hmm.
So that was kind of what started. So I started with improv first when I came to, and a big part of me moving to the city proper at the time that I did was to get into more comedy stuff, which obviously Chicago was a great comedy city. We basically invented improv here with Second City. So I
Yep.
started doing improv classes there. My brother had taken them, years before that, so I kind of knew that was something I always wanted to do. So I did that for I did the classes there for about a year. Did Had some groups I was a part of and did some shows, and I loved it. But all my improv groups kept falling apart for drama or other reasons.
They do that.
So yeah,
I've seen that happen firsthand a
yeah,
couple times
yeah.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like any great band or whatever. It's like just it's always something always happens. So and it's understandable. For some of them, it was just life it got in the way. People started moving away or settling down or whatever. So because of that, I was like, well, I should probably just find a form of comedy that's individually focused where I don't have to deal with a group
Hmm.
dynamic. So stand up seemed like the right move as far as that goes. And the stand up scene has all generally been pretty lively around here. Even more so than improv, I would say. And I'm glad I did because especially coming out of the pandemic, stand up had a way easier time kind of coming back than improv did. Improv has only really kind of found its footing again the past year or so.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I've been doing stand up ever since then. That's been pretty good. I'm trying to branch out a little bit now and do stuff like sketch comedy and collaborate with people and other stuff.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that stand up had an easier time coming back than improv and sketch?
I think just logistically it's easier and it's easy to just, you just need a microphone and a speaker and that's it. So on that front, it's easier for bars to like just have a little stage in the corner or something like that. And
Hmm.
that's when it first came back, that's pretty much how it was. Improv, you need again like the logistics of getting a team together, getting the word out and stuff. Improv is a lot harder to like sort of do, now we're in kind of on social media, we're kind of in the sort of the clip economy now between TikTok and Instagram Reels and all that. And it's a lot easier to sort of clipify stand up than it is improv, especially
Hmm.
in like vertical mode when you only have one subject as opposed to a bunch of people. And
Yeah.
then just, yeah, and then just also just at the time, again, coming out of the pandemics, IO was closed for a few years. Second City only had its like main stage coming back. All the like smaller improv places kind of shut down for a bit because just lack of funding and all that. So again, now it's since last year.
IO had
Yeah,
had a little bit more going on, but
it did, yeah, and
yeah.
then yeah, they lost their funds pretty quick. But again, they're back now and they're doing good and they have some
Hmm.
good stuff going on there. But yeah, yeah, stand-up's been doing really well. I mean, Plenty of people thriving and doing well in the scene. And there's been, even since the, again, pandemic, some local people that have, gone somewhat viral, and, now have gone off to New York and LA and moving on to other stuff. So that's been good to see.
Within the stand-up space,
Yeah.
or more
Yeah.
the okay.
Yeah. Stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said that you think the stand-up space is even livelier than the improv and sketch. Was that just in terms of kind of just easier to find
Yeah.
things going on with it, because there's only
Yeah.
maybe three or
Yeah.
four places that improv is
Yeah.
happening versus a
Yeah.
dozen every
Easier,
night with
yeah, it's
stand
just
up.
easier to break in, easier to like, find your footing as an individual. There's a lot more like sort of like hangouts and writers groups and workshops and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, again, improv's doing, again, it's finding its footing again. It just took a little longer for a variety of reasons. But, and I'm also seeing like all of these kind of different genres starting to coalesce a little more too. I've been seeing more improv people trying stand up and vice versa, and more music comedians, and again, more sketch
Mm-hmm.
comics getting recruiting people, and all these people experimenting on different forms of comedy. So it's been really good to see, and I'm glad that it's thriving again, because it obviously took a
Mm-hmm.
big hit during the pandemic. But I think people are using that and that experience and finding ways to innovate, and it's certainly been a lot more welcoming, easier for people to like, kind of, for me at least, to network and meet people and make friends and stuff, and gotten a lot more diverse. There's a lot more women comics, people of color, queer people, disabled comics and stuff. So that's been really another good positive trend also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed that too, and yeah, it's so good to see, because you mentioned, yeah, like Chicago basically invented improv. I mean, comedy, all forms of comedy are such an integral part of of Chicago culture, and a big point of pride. I mean,
Yeah.
to anybody listening and watching, you probably know this, but just in case not, I mean, pretty much every comedic actor you can think of over the last 50 years, like they either started in Chicago or had, a significant portion of their life was
Yeah.
in Chicago, coming up through like
Came here at
the
some
second
point.
city.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, obviously Second City, a good amount of the sort of, the last decades, comedians, were here at some point in the early 2000s, like John Mulaney, Pete Holmes, Hannibal Buress, who's still kicking around here,
Mm.
Kumail Nanjiani, so a whole bunch of greats. So, and even still, it does, it's a little bit lesser now. It's not quite the focal point it once was for, like SNL recruiting here or stuff like that. But I mean, but even still, like some get to break through, like Sarah Sherman, who's on SNL now, started here at the Lincoln Lodge doing, her own kind of unique comedy, and kind of found a way to break through that way. Jabuki Young White, who was on the Daily Show for a couple of years, was a stand up just a few years ago here, and broke through. So there's still people finding ways to kind of make it into the mainstream. They just have to kind of get a little more creative with how they do it. But thankfully, with,
Right.
again, social media and other stuff,
Hmm.
there's ways to be smart about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That no physical place is gonna have the same importance because of social media as it did pre-social media. Like all the SNLs and
Yeah,
places like that. They're recruiting from just random TikTok videos and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
people blowing up on there probably just as much as they are,
yeah,
any second city or anything like that. But I think there has to be something to be said still for such a community like this that is getting together, and like what you were saying, everybody's kind of inspiring each other to do different things, and
yeah,
try different things and incorporate different elements, and like that kind of stuff is, it's a lot harder to do if you're not, in that community, and
yeah,
being letting yourself be inspired in real
yeah.
time, in physical presence with other people.
Yeah, and I see the trend going, especially we've seen in recent years, like a bit less of a focus on of like LA and New York as the only places to, really to make it in the biz. Like now we're seeing, obviously Chicago's got, we shoot all the NBC Chicago shows here. There's other film productions that have been incentivized to come here for the tax breaks. Obviously musicians like Chance the Rapper and Common are starting to make Chicago a decent music hub. So also a lot of the arts right now are finding ways to make Chicago still a worthwhile place to center your art around, and hopefully I can see that growing and only becoming a bigger piece of the pie,
Hmm.
the deep dish pie.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, awesome stuff. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, for
What do
sure.
you have coming up that's exciting to you? What would you like the people out there to know about you, and where can they find you?
So yeah, if you want to follow me and on all the socials on Instagram and the Sears Twitter, I'm at Coffee or Die. On TikTok, I'm Cory Martin Lara. You can also search Cory Martin Lara on YouTube. Instagram is where I tend to post all the details of upcoming shows and things like that. I don't really have anything booked at the moment other than I do a lot of stuff with the Haha Hour sketch show. Their next show is on New Year's Eve. This will probably be out after that show happens, but their stuff is on Twitch and their YouTube channel. So if you want to see me in sketches and the recordings of the live shows and stuff, you can see me there. Um, yeah, I do a lot of stuff just all over the city. So, Lincoln Lodge, Laugh Factory, Shuba's, My Buddies. Those are kind of my favorite spots to do it. So check out those places. Even if I'm not there, they're all really great. And yeah, hopefully you'll see me on the Tamron Hall show soon to get my stand-up television debut.
Yep. Right on. And I'll have links to all that kind of stuff in the show notes too. So
Awesome.
I'll get those from you. And yeah, that's all I got, man.
This is
Thank you so
great.
much.
Yeah. Thank you for the tour of this unit. I'm definitely gonna sleep on it and I'll let you know and we'll be in touch.
And then you'll never call me again. You're just
Yeah,
gonna
no,
go
nope, no.
get
I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was fine. Yeah, I didn't like the open floor plan.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Cheers.
Thank you, Jake. Bye, everyone.